Alright, so this vlog's gonna be one of those therapy session type ones, which is what I started this channel for. So, I'm sorry to anyone who thought this was a tech channel or a fashion channel or whatever. It really just started as a personal diary. Um, yeah, and anything else I do in between. But no, so I'm not doing so well at the moment, and I'm trying to figure out what's what and what do I do with it. Um, so Saturday I was fine. Sunday is when I was like really spacing out, um, having problems with emptiness, and I'm trying to think of what's triggered it. I think there's maybe two key possibilities that I can think of at the moment. One of them, I've been using Nasonex to control my hay fever. I did have a go at the sinus care, whatever. It's terrible. I mean, very extreme. I think you would have to have like a serious problem with your nose to need this, or if you've had the surgery or whatever it's for, it's not for me. I made it all up. It's amusing to squeeze the bottle and have all the stuff like you squeeze at the tiniest bit and it shoots water out the top. That's amusing. But in terms of fixing my hay fever, no, I've had two COVID tests since the pandemic started, and it's quite uncomfortable having a thing shoved up your nose, right? If you've had that test, you know what it feels like. It's bad. Now imagine that with a bunch of warm water going up your nose. It's that much worse. And that whole thing of trying to make it go up one nose and out the other, and one nostril out the other nostril, a nose fountain basically. Or God help you if it comes out your mouth too. I didn't get anywhere near that far. It just started going up my nose, and I was like, no, this is not for me. So, yeah. Um, Grab some Nasonex instead, which is just, quick puffs up the nose. That's it. You know, you can you sniffle a little bit, I just blow out the excess, and there you go. It's done. Easy. And it has been controlling my hay fever, which is great. But it's a corticosteroid, and I mean, all of these things can have side effects, right? I've never had a bad reaction to a corticosteroid before, but I just wonder because the timing is a little bit suspicious that, a week, well, less than a week after I started using it, my mood starts going downwards. Now, corticosteroids, particularly up the nose, instead of in pill form, you're not supposed to get much in the way of side effects. What I've read, even with like pill form, is you're more likely to get anxiety type things when you first start it. And I did get a bit of a funny kind of like on edge feeling when I started it. But anxiety doesn't bother me in the same way that depression does. I tend to test high for anxiety, but never enough to get a diagnosis. And I can work through anxiety; it doesn't bother me. Whereas depression, when it's bad, can be quite crippling. If I have the same level of anxiety, it doesn't affect me nearly as bad as depression. Now, with corticosteroids, apparently depression can be a side effect, but it tends to be a long-term side effect that you develop over time. Then again, with me being sensitive to all these chemicals, it's possible that's a thing. But what I'm experiencing is nowhere near as bad as when I was on the Claritine, which completely destroyed my mood and also like my ability to think. I had brain fog really badly, whereas at the moment I just feel kind of like low energy. I think there's a bit of a headache, and I can't, or like starting to form. I'm not sure if that's like a depression headache or what, but no, what I'm experiencing nowhere near as bad as Claritine. I can think, there's no brain fog. It's just this sort of feeling of yeah. So there's that. I just had a thought and it's escaped me. What, the headache thing? Oh yeah. Well, no. Okay, so there's three things that could be causing my mood. So there's the Nasonex possibly, but the headache that just made me think. So Mikey recently was very low energy as well, and he can't speak to tell us what's wrong. So I guess if it's possible that he had some kind of illness that he's now passed on to me, that could be a thing. But like he didn't have any real symptoms apart from just being slow for a few days, and we thought he'd had an injury because he fell over and maybe he was just in a bit of pain. But I guess it's possible he could have caught something and passed it on to me, but I think kind of unlikely. The third thing, which was my original second thing. So you remember a while back, I did that birthday ramble where I was talking about, just feeling like I don't know what's going on and directionless. And I think this is sort of a continuation of that. And what's possibly triggered where I'm at now is, I think I mentioned on that birthday ramble, I had been following a lot of like women in metal groups, vocal groups, bands, and so on. And it all just got a bit much. Like, my news feed was going crazy with this stuff. And I'm looking at people doing things that I want to be doing, but I'm just not having any progress on. So I hid all that for a month. Facebook has that snooze for 30 days thing. And I think Sunday might have been when it all came back onto my feed. And I think looking at it, it all came back at once. And I'm just sort of like, that's sort of what I used to be into, but I'm not sure that I am now. And it's brought up a lot of those questions of like, who even am I? What am I into? Like, this music stuff. I haven't really gotten into any new music for ages. Like maybe the occasional song here and there, but for the most part, like in the past I'd find new music, and I was never really heaps open to a lot of music. I'm very picky, but at least I would find stuff and get into it, whereas I don't feel like I've been doing that so much. And the concern is that I've fallen out of love with music after all the effort that I've put into gaining some skills in it and whatever. And so to have all this stuff on my feed again is kind of just reminding me of the things that I've lost. And so Sunday, just feeling very empty and spacing out a bit. And so I went and sat in the garden for I don't know how long. I was just sort of sitting there trying to get my head around things and like where I'm at, what things do I actually like. A lot of introspection. Also watching some of the bees coming back because it's spring. We've got a few different azaleas, but there's this one big azalea with lots of white flowers at the moment, and there's all these bees. I think they're honeybees were going for that one. Meanwhile, the tiny Australian native bees were going for the bok choy flowers. Because the bok choy has been flowering for a while. A lot of the things have been flowering, but I think the weather's just gotten warm enough that the bees are like, hey, let's go get in on that. And so the bok choy is also producing seed pods. So, oh my god, you guys probably don't even... One day I'll edit that video together and you can see what the fuck I'm talking about, but I'll harvest some more of those seed pods and God knows plant some more bok choy. Bok choy is actually not bad as far as green vegetables go. Anyway, so I was just sort of sitting around watching all that and just thinking for a long time, that was, I think, in the middle of trying to do all my cleaning, but I just sort of went out there and sat for a while. And I was just like, I don't know. I used to do that a lot, though, a lot of introspection. We used to have this sort of swing chair out the back, and I just sit in there for ages. One of the things I remember thinking about was like, if we live in a 3D space, let's ignore time as the fourth dimension, because like that's not useful in this context. I'm talking about mathematical. Like, if any of you guys have done vectors and stuff, I was thinking about the three dimensions of space that we've got. And then if you've got your fourth dimension, this is going to get into a little bit of... I'm sure I've been through this before, but... So, you've got your first dimension. At right angles to your first dimension going in that, you've got your second dimension. And then you've got your third dimension going at right angles to both of them simultaneously, right? And that's your three dimensions. So I'm thinking about a fourth dimension that's at right angles to all of them simultaneously, which you obviously can't do in this space. You would have to go into a different thing. And so I spent a lot of time thinking about what a four-dimensional object would look like in three-dimensional space. And I think at the time there was a TV series called Threshold, which had a very interesting premise but was done very badly. There were a lot of boring episodes until the religious one where there's like a church or something, and I was right into that, but I think that's the last one before it got cancelled. Anyway, so I was watching that and that was made me think about that. And I was also reading a lot of stuff on Wikipedia, like about tesseracts and nerdy stuff. So yeah, I used to spend a lot of time just thinking about stuff like that. So I guess that's kind of what I was doing on Sunday, in between my cleaning, just sort of sitting around. I think I did write about that. Gosh, that was only a few days ago. Oh. Yeah, no, actually, if I look at my Facebook and read what I wrote on Sunday, yeah, I was having trouble sorting through some of those thoughts. Oh, another problem, I feel like I can't really trust my psychology anymore because the whole Claritine incident. I mean, when it comes to psychology and biology and things like that, right? Free will and consciousness, kind of an illusion. I mean, it depends on how much you buy into a deterministic view of physics and whatever. What got me out of that determinism thing in physics was the whole quantum stuff. Quantum mechanics and whatever doesn't really make any logical sense, but it would appear that our experiments show it works. So we have experimental evidence, even if it doesn't make sense to me. And that whole uncertainty, Schrodinger's cat and whatever, possibilities can change and whatever, I guess brings in an element of, did I leave that light on? No, it's just the camera being a bit distraction. Anyway, no, that it brings in that whole uncertainty, and then maybe free will could fit into that. But I think to me, it looks like quantum stuff only affects things on a tiny scale. And when you look at things on a big scale, things do seem a bit deterministic. And so you think about how that extends from physics into chemistry and biology. Then perhaps everything that we do is predetermined. And, my sense of self, my consciousness, my free will, and my choice, all of it's really an illusion, because if physics was going this way anyway, then all of this would have happened anyway. Which, you can get into some existential stuff with that, but when you look at what's practical to my life as I'm living it, it doesn't matter. I have the illusion of choice, so I kind of have to keep making choices. Anyway, so that line of thinking, right? And then I have this chemical that completely changes the way my brain's working, the things I feel. I feel like I can't trust myself anymore. Even the illusion of consciousness has gotten messed up by that. I'm not sure how to explain it quite right, but before Claritine, I could still cling to that illusion that, I have agency. And then post-Claritine, what it did to me is it just sort of broke that illusion quite badly. So that's a bit of a problem, messing with, do I even stand a chance at focusing this stuff? I don't know. So that it's just, I don't know how much I can trust my own brain, because things can change like that. Just so quickly, completely out of my control. Thought I had another thought I was going for, but I'm getting a bit distracted. Well, okay, so yeah, that was part of my spacing out, I guess. Because there are some things that I think I used to feel that I don't feel anymore. And so that's all a bit of a mess. But apparently I was also feeling a bit dizzy that day, and I remember I did have to lie down, so that does support a bit of a biological basis for what I might be feeling, and not just, looking at musicians and whatever doing things that I'm not doing. But got a confused sense of self, confused about music, and wondering if I'm blaming the wrong things for my problems rather than tackling the cause. There is a thought right at the edge of my brain, and I just can't grab it to articulate it for you. Isn't that frustrating? Yeah, I don't know. We'll wait and see if that thought comes back around. Anyway, no, I also wondered if I was tired that day, because I had gone to bed roughly midnight, I think, and then I woke up and I was convinced that it was almost time to get up, but when I rolled over and looked at my phone, only 40 minutes had passed, and that really made me feel dizzy, because I got up and I was just like, my brain thinks it's been asleep, but it actually hasn't. and that could have thrown me off, but that would just be a temporary sort of thing. Oh God, someone's home. Hopi! Well, I've closed my door, so hopefully they'll know not to come by. Yeah, anyway, so Sunday I was really spacing out about myself and all that kind of stuff, but yeah, yesterday it's just, I was trying to take it easy, so I was just not pressuring myself to do anything, just resting, and it didn't really help, and I've sort of just look at all this stuff, right? This is stuff I collected over a few years, I guess, and sort of mostly stopped adding to about 5 years ago, and I just have this huge disconnect between me now and me in the past. And I've talked about this as well before. Like, I remember being a kid and just thinking one day, gee, I'm like a lot smarter than I was when I was younger. You know, like there's so much I know now that I didn't know, and I feel more awake and, you know, all that kind of stuff. But the very next week I had the exact same thought, thinking, gee, me a week ago thinking that stuff. This is kind of dumb. And look how much I've become a different person in just a week. And I've, like, ever since then, I've just sort of been aware of going from, like, passing through all these different stages of being different people, and it's very disconcerting. This stuff is evidence that my memories are real, but I don't really know this person. And then I have all these memories of, like, things that I've done, and I'm like, I don't think I would do that. It's just very, yeah, disconcerting, I think is the word, thinking about who I am now and who I've been in the past, and like there's just, it's hard to see how continuous it is, because it, like the changes are so big to me that I have a very unstable sense of self. And I wonder if they're, like, you know, I know we've talked about, ooh, could I have autism or something? But I think stuff like this might be why I talk to one of my psychologists about things like schizoid personality disorder and things, because, yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff going on in my brain. I think one of the things I'm sort of wondering is, like, do I have bigger problems than I'm aware of? Like, last night I was having this sort of a meltdown, and it's just so bizarre how I can seem to be doing fine, and then all of a sudden it's just like, what even is happening? Yeah. But no, later on, like once I'd calmed down a bit, I was talking to my brother. I've got two brothers, one's disabled, one's not. So obviously I'm talking to the one who's not. Yeah, no, we were having a chat, and I think that sort of cheered me up a bit. We weren't really talking about anything in particular. Like, I was just like, here's what's going on with me, and I'm frustrated. And talked about a bit about his day as well. He's a really chill guy. You know, he's like the opposite of me in a lot of ways. But we get on well. Yeah, no, I think that sort of helped me snap out of my funk a bit. But when I'm having those moments where my brain's just going, wah, it's just like, I guess I don't feel like I have control just in myself. And I'm not even talking about, like, the crazy shit, destroyer shit. I'm not even talking about, like, that stuff's barely relevant to me at the moment. I mean, I've been trying to claw back some of that because some of that was useful to my life, but I feel like I'm missing more fundamental pieces of me. I mean, speaking of that stuff and, like, the rest of what I've been, if you look at some of my older videos, or if you just know me from before I got depressed, the most recent time, and if you look at things that I've done going from hobby to hobby and all the random skills that I have that I don't know what to do with, I used to be more motivated to try things. I used to be a little bit crazy. I think less stable in a lot of ways. Especially if you've been following me for like 10 years, you'll have seen some of that. And just sort of kind of not giving a fuck. I mean, I guess I would get embarrassed sometimes, but mostly just going for whatever, doing things, learning new skills. Even if, like, you know, the way I used to solve my depression sometimes was to start a new uni course or whatever and be like, maybe this is the thing that'll fix me. At least I was trying that and I was interested in that, whereas now I'm just sort of like, you know, what else is there to do? If I have an idea, I'm sort of expect to lose interest. I mean, look at all this stuff. I mean, look at the drum kit. Got that for my 21st. What have I done with it? It's just like a glorified shelf thing. Finally figured out what I need to do to fix the hi-hat pedal though. Turns out there's a piece of rubber that goes stiff over time. And so I can either mess with that to make it work again, or I can just buy a pedal that doesn't have that built-in flaw. But, you know, I just, like, I can't be bothered. Am I going to play it? Probably not. All this ant farming kind of stuff that I do. Yeah, anyway. Sorry this video is very low energy. It's just like I'm trying to work through where I'm at the moment and I'm not sure what to do next. Or like, if it is something like Nasonex, I'm gonna halve how much I'm using and see if that fixes anything. But even if it is the Nasonex, or if I've caught some kind of bug which has no real symptoms apart from making me feel bleh, even if there's something biological going on with me, I feel like I have a problem with, I feel like I have a psychological problem in the sense that I don't have any particular goals at the moment. Nothing that seems doable, certainly, and here's the thing, if we just go on a tangent, right? Okay, so with goals, with the music stuff, right? So I'm seeing people who are achieving things I'm not, and I know that this is one of those things with depression, you should try not to compare yourself. I mean, I live in Sydney and the music scene's different here, so I haven't had the same opportunities. I came to music late, I came to singing late, all this kind of stuff. There's plenty of stuff that's held me back, mental illness, blah, blah, blah. Okay, even if we set all that stuff aside, right? And there's reasons I haven't made it as far as I perhaps wanted to at some point in my life, right? Ignoring all that. In the past, I wanted it enough that I would actually work on stuff. So like Rainbow Death Ray, I started the band myself, I wrote most of the music, I did most of the stuff to get us where we got. You know, I mean, the girls tried to help and they were great, but a lot of it was still me pushing the whole thing forward, right? I used to do that sort of thing. If I really wanted to get a band together and, you know, be making music and all that kind of stuff, nothing's really stopping me from doing that, except that I don't want it enough to push for it, do all that hard work again. I've lost that kind of drive, if that makes sense. So, yeah, so all these people are achieving this stuff. I could use that as inspiration. But clearly I just don't want it enough. I could be doing more practice. You know, there's things with some of the vocalist groups, right? The fry screaming thing, not happy with the way my fry is going. I don't like that sound. Some people do. Some people like my fry scream. They've told me, and I'm just like, well, I don't. So there's still like, I could work on that. I could get lessons maybe. But no, I don't think I want this stuff enough. And so I look at this stuff and I mean, if I don't really want it that much, what's the problem? I think the problem is it's reminding me of what I used to want, and now there's nothing really there, and that is bothering me, if that makes sense. So, yeah, I probably need to hide a lot of that stuff. Again, I've also been thinking maybe I need to restrict. Like, I've got a lot of random friends on Facebook, and I was allowing that to happen while I was doing a lot of music because you got to network and blah, 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 blah. And with Facebook algorithms, it's sometimes easier to promote things on your personal profile rather than on your artist page. But at the moment, I'm not really doing anything. I mean, there's AD Destroyer. There's not really momentum with that. I mean, there's stuff we could do, but it's very slow going, and yeah. So yeah, I don't really have much going on with me at the moment, but I've got all these random friends, and most of them don't give a crap about me, but they have access to the stuff that I'm writing, and I'm sort of thinking, well, maybe I should just restrict a bunch of the people that I don't really know and don't really want seeing all my shit. Maybe that will help a little bit. I don't know. Just like I wrote this thing yesterday about all this stuff in this bookshelf, right? And it's a moody post, like, I'm saying this is a reflection of who I used to be. I don't know who this is anymore. I try to re-engage, can't find it. If I replaced all this with who I am now, I'm concerned it would be empty. Yeah, and, worrying about the whole biological thing, but there's also psychological issues. Like, actually, that's where I was going before I got distracted, right? So, even if there's a biological problem, I worry that I don't have a psychological resistance because I'm not focused on any particular goal. I've kind of given up on the idea of goals, I guess, in a way. Maybe that's to do with how I feel, but I'm not logically convinced by anything. Like, I've been trying to use music as a goal, mostly just because I don't know what else. I don't know what else I can make my goal. So for the last few years, I think I've sort of just been clinging to it by default rather than a proper interest, and it's very frustrating. I've made a little bit of progress, but it's not satisfying. I feel like I need to figure out who I am, what I want, and all that kind of stuff, so that when I do have these blips in my mood, I can sort of push through it. Whereas at the moment, I'm just floating, going, what is this? Who am I? What do I want? I don't know. Do I want anything? Maybe not. Maybe I'm just floating through life, and that's not very satisfying. Anyway, so yeah, biology versus psychology. I think there's a bit of an interplay going on, and that may be why I keep going back into this. Like, I'm all mopey, and then I'm like, guys, I'm fine, and then I'm all mopey again, and then, guys, actually, I'm fine, and it keeps going through this cycle, and I think it's because I don't have a stable sense of self at the moment. Wow, this is getting to half an hour, and I haven't really... Anyway, no, I made this moody post, right? And then this guy comes along, and he makes a stupid comment about my dragon and my raptor up there. There, those guys up there made a stupid comment. I mean, the angle, didn't even consider the fucking angle. And, I would, like, he made a sexual comment about them. And at first I was annoyed because, being asexual and not being interested in those themes, unlike other asexual people who can't seem to stop talking about it. I don't like the community, I'm sorry. I just don't. Like, it feels very, contradictory. Anyway, no, at first I was annoyed because of the nature of the comment, but then I was thinking, for fuck's sake, dude, I just made this emotional post and you want to go and make jokes about shit. Like, there's a time and a place. First of all, keep that shit, your dirty crap, to yourself. But more importantly, when someone's having a meltdown, don't make fun of my stuff. Just like, I mean, not paying attention to things. And like, then it's like, oh, I've been depressed and you sound like you're depressed. And I'm like, for fuck's sake, I've been depressed so many times. Part of what I wrote in this is that none of the advice I come across understands my problem, and you think you're gonna solve my problems by saying, ooh, maybe you have... I don't like when people give me advice about depression, and they just don't. So, yeah, after a while I was like, no, fuck off. I'll just put him on my restricted list, and I think that's what I might do with everyone, rather than completely unfriending. Just put a bunch of people on my restricted list so they can only see my public posts. And, yeah, I don't think it'll really help. It's just something I feel like I should have done for a while. I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with any of these thoughts. It's just a bunch of crap going on in my head, and we'll see what happens. And then, yeah, reflected tone. I know you mean well, but my problem is not clutter. If I got rid of all this stuff, I think I'd be even more confused, because I'm having a problem connecting my memory to reality. Like, my memories don't really feel real. It feels like someone else's hallucination. And so if I got rid of all this stuff, all this evidence that I was someone else, I think that would be worse for my sense of reality. Because, yeah, life is super weird, especially, since I stopped trying to be a self-sufficient person. Like, I stopped trying to aim for, like, a job where I'd make money. I just sort of, like, it's more just about surviving psychologically now, because I'm that fucked up that I can't really have a normal life. I mean, even Centrelink thinks that I'm not capable of more than 20 hours of work a week. Like, they think that's permanent. So, which I didn't realize they'd permanently assessed me like that, but it's kind of true. The only time I worked more than 20 hours in a week since I had that psychological evaluation, the only time I did that was for Halloscream, and that's very short-term work. The rest of the time, I don't even get close to working 20 hours a week. That's how screwed up I am. Where was I going with that? I don't know. Yeah, no, I've really lost my train of thought. This is just like a thought vomit trying to explain where I'm at. But see, the problem is I'm kind of confused about where I'm at, so when I try and articulate what's going on with me, it just turns into a big mess. So, yeah, I don't feel like talking about it right now has really helped me sort out any of the thoughts, but that's where I'm at right now, and I guess we'll see what happens. Damn, I was kind of hoping that talking would help me get somewhere, but really it's just like video diary without anything constructive coming out of it. Anyway, no, so don't give me advice on this shit. Vast majority of you have no clue what I'm saying anyway. I'm not good at articulating it, and then my problems tend to be different to other people's. God, can you imagine me trying to talk about this shit with a psychologist? Because they've got their own ideas. Most psychologists I've worked with, maybe all the psychologists I've worked with, just deal with regular people's problems. So then a nutcase like me comes along and they don't know what to do with me. Yeah, I don't know what kind of person would be able to treat me. I think maybe because of the biological aspect, you need psychiatry. But because of my sensitivity to medications, we can't do that either. So, yeah, I'm a bit stuck, and I'm trying to figure out if there's a way to at least get back some of the things I like about past me. Some of the things I like about past me is that I did do stuff, I did try, I was getting into new things, I was curious about a lot of stuff, trying to express myself. Destroyer things also used to help. Maybe I should have talked more about that, because I think that disappearing is a big problem, or going mostly numb compared to how it used to be, because I've defined so much of myself by that. I mean, even the whole, like, it's in my name everywhere now. I use Destroy America everywhere. People know me as that, but it doesn't have the same meaning it used to. There's a big chunk of my sense of self that's fucked off. I mean, I guess maybe it wasn't a good coping strategy. Maybe that's a thing as well. I don't know. But there's a sense of loss there, and I can't really get it back. I've been trying, but I wonder if there's some social issues with that. Anyway, no, we're sort of, like, this video is too long and directionless and low energy, so I think I'll just stop there, and you guys can make of it what you want. I don't know when I'll be back, because part of this problem I'm having is I just can't be bothered. But, I'll make an effort to be on here weekly, I guess. Here's hoping this is just a blip. I don't want to have to go back to my doctor again and be like, actually, I am feeling shit. Oh, right after I said, no, it was just the Claritine. Anyway, stuff, things. I don't know what I'm going to do the rest of today. Here's one for Paper Vampire. My brother brought home his skipping rope so that I could play with it and try and get some fitness going. That's your idea. Thanks a fucking lot.